focusing on fashion, design, and technology, entrepreneurs, startups, communities. And what we're working on, mainly we're working with the city and other groups on economic development on specific strategic sectors. So what we're going to do is take the fashion industry vertical, the business vertical in San Francisco, all the way from advanced materials research to textile design, sourcing applications, manufacturing, sales, retail process, service models, and things like that, and make it into the world-class leading, industry-leading location for innovation and technology, basically. So we're going to leverage everything we learned from technology in Silicon Valley, and we're going to apply it to fashion for the first time. And we're going to do it here in San Francisco. And a large part of that is apparel and accessory manufacturing, revitalization. So I don't know if you know this, but historically San Francisco was a major manufacturing location. In the garment district was huge. It was one of the major employers, and really in the last 30 years that got replaced entirely. It disappeared basically and we were replaced by technology. So the Central Market Corridor, that used to be the garment district. Now it's all exclusively technology. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring back using smart technology, smart capital, innovation, and we're going to revitalize garment and apparel and accessory manufacturing in San Francisco. It's going to be distributed, it's going to look differently, but we're bring that back. So that's the mayor's got economic initiatives, the state's behind it. We work with other nonprofits on this, so that's kind of a big movement. And part of that, of course, when you're doing economic development, and especially in manufacturing, especially in apparel manufacturing, the sustainability has to be a large part of that. So for that reason, we launched greenstreetsf.org, which is a dedicated space within our organization for content dedicated to green and sustainable. So it's a resource, it's an information place. We have about 9,000 members, and so a large portion of that are actually very interested in green and sustainable issues. And so that's part of that. And the other thing is about the name Green Street SF. When we were driving around and we were talking about, putting this program together, and then what would we call it, and looking at, what should it be called, what would be relevant, and then we actually stopped, and we looked, and we were on Green Street. And so it's funny. So for those of you who are superstitious, it was pretty amazing. We're like, oh, well, we're actually on Green Street. We thought, well, that makes sense because Green Street crosses San Francisco. It runs parallel to some major streets like Broadway. So like next to the Broadway is the Green Street. So we thought that was really kind of interesting. And it also means like, pathway, a journey, because, green is oftentimes a journey. So with stops along the way. So we decided to call it greenstreetsf.org. I thought that was funny. But wow, maybe this is a good thing. And so that's our really our dedicated space for content for green and sustainable for everybody that's for our membership. And the other thing, and then we wanted a meetup group and socially green, but we wanted something that that we could have accessible programming to encourage kind of a broader participation from the general public. And also people that are, interested, but they weren't sure where to jump in, right? And so that's what we wanted to make this group into. And a few things. Oh, and then we also, just so you know, San Francisco Fashion Merchants Alliance, we produce San Francisco Fashion Week, and we're also on the planning committee for San Francisco Design Week. So we have these great platforms, really, to introduce compelling businesses and products that are green and sustainable. And we think that's a strategic advantage. It makes really good business sense. And so we want to, encourage that. And also, hopefully in the course of things, highlight innovation, local businesses participating in the green economy that are really, doing new innovative things. And we want to highlight that as well. And I think those are the main touch points about what we are and what we're doing. And then the last thing I want to say that we do have a product sponsor for tonight. It's called Somersault Snacks. I don't know if you're aware of them. They're a Sausalito company. They're local. They're fairly new, but they're all natural ingredients, and they based all their products around sunflower seeds. which is great balanced nutrition. It's like as much protein, but half the caloric count of almonds. And they're also really big on education for school children and schools, nutritional information, and they have kind of a farm-to-table program, and they have planting programs and things like that. So we want you all to try that. There's a range of things. If you try them, sample them, and if you have some good feedback, I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. So, okay, that's all I have. If there's any questions.
Can we touch on what our partnership with Indiegogo is, our crowdfunding?
For projects?
Yes.
Oh, well, a lot of what we do is alternative or funding programs, alternative funding for startups and entrepreneurs of different kinds. And if you heard about crowdfunding platforms where you can get support from the general public for your project to get launched, we work with the local version of Kickstarter, which is New York, so we have ours called Indiegogo, and we have a partnership with them too. So if you have something that you're looking at, you think maybe crowdfunding is the right idea for that, you want to test the waters, you want to bring a product to market, all these kind of things, we have to have a partnership with them, and we have a page, so you can talk to us about that, and we can talk about putting a campaign together for you. Okay, and we work on different types of funding, VC, angel, grant, all these other, specific targeted business loans and things like that too, because we're really kind of part of the startup and entrepreneur community in San Francisco in general. And so, yeah. Anyway, I'm Robert, that's Owen. Thank you all for coming. And I think we're going to do some introductions. Oh, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, I don't know if she mentioned incubator. Are you also a brick and mortar, like an incubator?
No, we are not right now, but we're kind of in partnerships with several different types of incubators.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's a part we may look at doing something more formally. That crowdfunding, in a way, especially when we're dealing with design and we're dealing with artists and things like that, a lot of times they're really hard to get funded, for graphic designers. But we can put together basically the same program as an incubator without really the dedicated space for a certain amount of time. But you could raise $10,000 to $25,000 on a graphic. We have the expertise and the mentorship and the connections and stuff. So you can get really, which is the important part really. So you have people, industry experts and things that we can put you in contact with for mentoring, and then you can raise enough to really, do your own production and initial launch, and then see how it goes from there without all the complications. So that's kind of what we do right now, but there are also several incubator programs that we can put you in touch with. We know people that do. So.
And what's great about the crowdfunding is one of our friend attorneys is also on the board, and his product was the one that was successfully funded, so he knows what the process is. It's Soul's Bags and Soul Shoes, SOLZ.
And there's also, in the green and sustainable space, there's actually several startups and things like that that are working on various versions of crowdfunding to get support. And I know one of the ones that's making a splash recently is Mosaic in Oakland, where they have a community solar power project, and they're actually the first ones to try to utilize this new investment crowdfunding model, where you could actually get an equity and a fixed return rate. That's what Obama signed last year to try and do that, so that rather than going through big banks and the venture capital or the Wall Street people, that you could actually have access to an investor network from the community at large, right, with returns. So there's a lot of that kind of going on, and I think for a lot of green and sustainable new ventures that have to do with renewables and things like that, then that's kind of a good option for them to explore that. So we'll be seeing more of that in the future. Yeah. So it's investment crowdfunding. Yeah.
Question?
Anybody else? And did you say there was somebody, did we want to do some stuff?